Hello and welcome to our webinar tonight, Becoming Who You Should Be Despite Who You Are, the Thinking Forward Approach to Purpose and Fulfillment. My name is Brandon L. Draper. And a little bit about me, I'm a 10-year Army combat veteran. I'm a father, have a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice, a Master's of Science in Leadership Psychology. I'm an author, leadership strategist, mindset development coach, motivational speaker, community activist, volunteer, lover of people and life, and I also have a very giving spirit, and that's why we're having this webinar tonight. What is our mission here at Thinking Forward? This is not a sales pitch. This is really about helping other people grow to another level. So our mission statement is that we are life changers. We work with everyday people and business owners across the globe to help them align their lives and business to the highest values, giving them great peace of mind. Our agenda, what we're going to talk about is chapters right out of the book, Becoming Who You Should Be Despite Who You Are. So in chapter 1, we talk about the vision of leadership. Chapter 2, facing the struggle head on. Chapter 3, the uncertainty factor. Chapter 4, blind ignorance. Chapter 5, attachment of life's email. Chapter 6, coattail university. Chapter 7, limiting expectation. Chapter 8, the best investment. Chapter 9, dreams versus obstacles. Chapter 10, slave to the game. Chapter 11, the toll bridge of life. Chapter 12, the settlement of destruction. Chapter 13, the perpetual time syndrome. And chapter 14, the sum of all. The first chapter, we talk about the vision of leadership, what it takes to be a leader. Now, we can read a bunch of literature, and there's a bunch of, gurus out there that claim that they have the magic bullet or the magic answer on what it takes to be a leader. Now, you can read a bunch of doctrine, different leadership manuals. You can be part of different organizations that try to teach you how to be a leader. Now, don't get it misconstrued. What it takes to be a leader comes from within. And it's always going to be that way. It's always been that way from the beginning of time and will always be that way to the end of time. Those doctrines, leadership seminars, and all those other things that you may go to are only supplements to supplement you in your walking in becoming a true leader. But it takes an evaluation of yourself to ultimately put you in place to truly be a leader. Good leaders versus bad ones. How do you distinguish between a good leader and a bad one? Well, I'm going to share a real quick story with you. A multi-million-dollar corporation has millions of dollars worth of sales, but through a software glitch, they lost business. Okay, and the department that was responsible for handling this software dropped the ball. Now there's a leader in place. So the company says, since we lost this multi-million-dollar deal, we're going to have some cutbacks in this department. So the superior lets the leader know what his or her intentions are. Now, a good leader is going to take full responsibility for what occurred, no matter what. Even if that leader did not have a direct hand on the failure of the department, but that a leader is always going to be on the front lines when it comes to taking responsibility when things go wrong. So that leader is going to go to the superior and says, I understand what's going on, and I'm willing to resign to allow those 5 individuals to stay in place. Now, what this leader has done is basically they understand that, number one, this type of person, if they have this type of mindset to take responsibility for their department and their people, meaning that they're pretty guaranteed to have a real good resume and have qualities and attributes that other companies will want. So they know that they're a very marketable person, but they may seem that their employees may not have as much marketable skills and might not be able to get a job very, as quickly as they would. And let's just say it's near the holidays. So they see the impact that it would have on 5 families, and they take responsibility, and they will resign in order to let those 5 people stay. Okay, now that's a story of a good leader. A bad leader would do the complete opposite, that they would blame everyone else in the department except themselves, and they would let those 5 individuals go in order to protect themselves. A good leader is always going to be on the front lines when things go wrong, and when things go good, they're always going to be in the back. Our next chapter is facing the struggle head on. Look at your problems correctly. Evaluate them correctly. Some people, oftentimes, it's what we do, it's just our nature. We look at problems for worse than they really are, instead of looking at them for what they really are. So you gotta understand your problem, okay? Then you gotta come with solutions for your problems. How are you gonna systematically think your problems out and come up with a feasible plan on how to resolve the problem? But if you're looking through a lens that is much darker and lugubrious, it's going to be hard for you to really evaluate that problem for what it is. Okay. So then at the end, you got to evaluate your decisions. And, when you're facing the struggle head on, sometimes it's hard to think because you're faced with so many different issues. And that's what we're going to talk about in that chapter. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about the uncertainty factor. Okay, what is passion? Okay, what is passion? Passion, the Latin meaning for passion is suffering. What is it that you're willing to suffer through in order to get to the next level? And also when it comes with passion, oftentimes when you're working or you're going through or you're believing in your passion, that's what you're working on, it's going to be a lot of uncertainty. And that is the number one reason why most people don't go in business for themselves, that they don't go after their dreams and their aspirations, because there's so much uncertainty and it's going to be a whole lot of suffering that they're not willing to do. And that's one of the questions that I often ask people. What is it that you're not willing to do today that's stopping you from getting to the next level? And usually that comes from a limiting mindset, where your mindset is not growing, either because you're not using self-developmental training, you're not getting coached, or you don't have a mentor in place. So when you're going through that uncertainty factor, that's uncertainty part of your life, you have to have things in place that's going to allow you to not get confused. Don't let your eyesight confuse you with your mindset. Those are 2 different things that has to always be separate. The next thing we're going to talk about, the next chapter, is blind ignorance. Okay, what is your philosophy? Oftentimes we're programmed with the wrong philosophy, and having that wrong philosophy utterly makes us blind, and it also makes us very ignorant. And ignorance is not necessarily a bad word in a sense, but it just means a lack of information. You're not informed on certain things. So your philosophy plays a lot on how your life is going to play out. The old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But if you were to say, lard a day keeps the doctor away, well, that would be the wrong philosophy, and ultimately you would get sick. Or if you were to replace that with a hamburger a day keeps the doctor away, it would just be the wrong philosophy and what we would consider to be blind ignorance, meaning you're willfully going against, general laws of nature as it's stated, and coming up with your own philosophy. Okay, what lenses are you looking through? How are you perceiving what's happening around you? And a lot of that is affected by your philosophy. Okay, what are you willing to not change? What are you willing not to change? Oftentimes what that is what's your inability to improve your lifestyle, to improve your state of being, to improve just your general life quality, period. So you got to ask yourself, what are you not willing to do that if you was to possibly change, it would change your life? Okay, how to get out of your own way. Blind ignorance oftentimes get in our own way of doing things, and it gets in our way of success. So those are things you got to be very cognitive of. The next chapter that that's discussed in the book is attachment of life's emails. Are you checking your emails? If you have a job or you have a career, you have to check your emails every day. You have to check them multiple times a day. You have to check them very often to keep abreast on what's going on. So what we talk about in this chapter is that life sends you emails, okay? And it's not just about paying attention to just a general email or the subject line or the body of text, but to also look at the attachments that's going on. So are you paying attention to the signals that life is giving you? And when you're looking at those emails and you're looking at those attachments, what are you downloading? Are you downloading the worst of things? Or are you monitoring the music that you're listening to? Or are you monitoring the books that you're reading? Are you reading at all? What are you putting in yourself? What are you putting in your mindset that's going to take you to the next level or is going to hold you where you're at? Okay, are you using an anti-mind virus application? And what I mean by that is, that comes with association. Who are you associating with? What organizations are you a part of? What type of filtration do you have to not allow things to come in and out of your life just willy-nilly? So the question is, I always would ask someone, would you allow someone to come in your house that you don't know with a bag full of garbage and dump it on your living room? Most people wouldn't allow that to happen, and they would go crazy. It would be an issue if someone was to do that. So why do you allow outside influences to ultimately affect you in that way? But that's what you do when you don't have an anti-mind virus application or filtration in place. You're allowing people with their negativity to poison your mindset and ultimately hold you back. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about Coattail University. What truly makes you yourself? What truly makes you, you is you. It can never change. It doesn't matter what school you went to, no matter what organization, fraternal organizations that you may be attached to or a part of, you ultimately have to be willing to be the one. People look at you, not the organization that you may be attached to. So we call that the association and affiliation disparity. Don't get confused by thinking that if you're a part of a select organization, that puts you above anyone else. And oftentimes people do that, and that ultimately destroys what they truly are, because they try to imitate something that they're not. You don't want to die a copy of something else or someone else. You want to be a true original of yourself. And that comes a lot to do with talent versus work ethic. A lot of people join organizations or go to prestigious schools, not necessarily because they want to really put in work, but they have this preconceived mindset that, they can go there and just off their talent that they'll be able to get everything that they want, and just off the name they have everything in place. But it's a difference between talent versus work ethic. If there's someone out there right now that looks just like you, that has less talent than you, but they're always going to be on top. Why? Because they're willing to work harder than you. There's a lot of people in this industry that's a lot more talented than me, but they will never ever outwork me. And that's why I keep growing and developing in new stages of my life. Okay. Can't get a cosigner forever. You have to understand that people are not always going to co-sign your lack of effort, your lack of work. It's only so far an organization that you're attached to or affiliation that you have can keep co-signing for you. People are going to start looking at you for who you are and not what you're attached to. Okay. The next chapter is limiting expectations. What you think is what you get. So if you think that you won't succeed, 9 times out of 10, you won't. But if you think you will succeed, then you will. It has everything to do with what you think. So a man thinketh, so he or she becomes. Okay. The person that's in your mind is stronger than the person in the mirror. Oftentimes when we look in the mirror, we see something that we may not necessarily like. But that goes right back to the title of this book, Becoming Who You Should Be Despite Who You Are. Who you are today may not be directly a reflection of who you really want to be or what you could be. But you got to understand the person in your mind, how you think is stronger than the person in the mirror. So you got to take that in consideration when you're thinking about all these different aspects of your life. You have to constantly make sure that the person in the mirror is constantly stronger, than your person inside your head. You got to keep that. The person inside your head always has to be stronger than the person in the mirror, because you're always growing and your mindset is always increasing. You have to believe in yourself more than others believe in you in order to court success. Meaning that, I'm a strong believer in, relationships that are good for you and affirm who you are, and relationships that build your character, and people that really believe in helping you and giving you the extra push that you need to be successful in life. But at the same time, you have to believe in yourself more than others. Your biggest supporter that you have to believe more than they do. You have to go an extra mile or even more to believe in yourself more than they actually do. The best investment ever is the next chapter. And when I talk about, I said stocks and bonds are not the best investment. The best investment that you will ever make will be in yourself. Hands down. Warren Buffett said it. And it's not true just because he said it. It's true because that's just a universal law. Okay, you are your best investment. That's the one thing that never depreciates. Education is possession of which no man can be robbed. And I remember that every day going into high school, because it was written on our school. Investing in a career will make you a living, but investing in yourself will make a fortune. Jim Rohn said that years ago, and that holds true today. No matter what you invest in, if you invest in yourself, you're always going to get the best return on investment. And that's what we talk about in that chapter. Dreams versus obstacle. Life beatdowns will always occur. It's never ending. The example that I would give you is, a championship heavyweight fight where you got two opponents inside the ring. One opponent is you, and the other opponent is life. Okay, understand this: life is not going to let up. Okay, you oftentimes hear people say it's not what happens to you in life, but how do you deal with what happens to you in life that really matters. So life beatdowns will occur. So you're in this match and you're going round for round with this thing called life. Each round symbolizes another year in your life. You're faced with disappointments. You're faced with death. You're faced with uncertainty. You're faced with layoff. You're faced with no financial stability. All these things are happening. Life keeps hitting you. But guess what? You're getting older. You start losing confidence in your abilities and your skills. And you start, getting ready to get count out. You're getting ready to get KO. You're getting ready to get knocked out. So how do you combat that? That is what we talk about. How do you ultimately combat that? And what necessary steps you need to do to keep on fighting? Why there's some people that's so successful, even despite all the disappointments and letdowns they've had in life, you can be in the same position. Just understand that life's going to keep hitting you, but it's all in how you handle it. Okay, to me, there's only 3 obstacles that exist. Okay, those first obstacle is the one that we call self-limiting. Those are things that we put on ourselves. The next one is money and any other problem that can be solved by a man. If there's a problem that can be solved by a man, or it's a problem that can be solved by money, or it's a problem that we just give ourselves. Those are the only obstacles that we have. Now, understand that there's a way on how to get rid of all 3 of those obstacles, or at least be able to go over them or conquer them in some form or fashion. That's what we talk about in this chapter of dreams versus obstacles. And next thing we talk about is eyesight versus mindsight. How is it, what's the difference between eyesight and mindsight? Eyesight is what you see, is what you're experiencing right now, meaning that you may be in position right now where your lights may have got cut off, or you may have just gotten a foreclosure notice in the mail certified to you. You may have gotten your car repo. These are things that's in your eyesight, but your mindset has to tell you that you're going to persevere, that no matter what, you're going to win at the end. But oftentimes we're led more by our eyesight than our mindset. And that's why we have to keep these two things separate. They have to be on the opposite sides of town. And that's what we talk about in that chapter. Slave to the game. Does your rhetoric line up with your actions? Does your rhetoric line up with your actions? Meaning, what you talk about to everyone else, what you necessarily may talk about in your head, doesn't line up with what you're actually doing. A lot of people, John Maxwell uses the example in one of his books when he mentions about the 5 frogs on a log. He says that 4 decided to jump off. How many frogs are left on the log? Most people would surmount that there's 1 frog left on the log, but it's still 5 frogs, because deciding and doing is 2 different things. So just because you decide and you talk about what you're going to do, until you take the appropriate actions, nothing's going to happen. Can be a master and a slave at the same time. You cannot be the business owner and the worker at the same time. You can't be the one that's coming up with the plans and then the one that's killing it. You have to separate yourself from both. You can't be the master and the slave at the same time. Life can be a liberator or a slave driver. There are certain circumstances and things that's going to happen in life that can free you, and some things that actually can enslave you. But it's all in how you interpret and perceive those things that happen that ultimately depict how your life is going to go. And that is how winners and the successful people in this world read life to be. The next chapter is the toll bridge of life. We have to all pay, but we ultimately decide on who or what to pay and how much. Now, what does that mean? Meaning, in life, there are certain things you're going to have to do. There's this universal understanding that as sure as you're born, you shall die. Those are one of the things that we can't avoid. So what the toll bridge of life talks about is that everyone has to pay a price. But who you pay that price to, what you pay that price, and how much you pay is all determining on you. Okay, what direction are you traveling? Okay, once you cross the toll bridge of life, even if you even reach this toll bridge, what direction are you traveling? Are you traveling towards it or away from a pivotal point in your life that can ultimately change your life for the better or for worse? What's your direction? Because you have to know what direction you're heading on in order to understand what you need to do. Next thing, we talk about roads less traveled. There are certain things that people are willing to do, and there's certain things people are not willing to do. When we talk about the road less traveled, it's meaning that you're going through adversity. You're going to do things that may not be typically what people are accustomed to doing. Therefore, most people don't want to go. People don't want to go against the grain. They want to go through the things that they're familiar with. And that's what we talk about in that chapter. The next chapter is the settlement of destruction. Are you content with mediocrity? A lot of people, say that I'm okay where I'm at. Does your decision line up with your actions again? What are you deciding? Does it really line up? How many people are just getting by? Now, for our show of hands, people listening to the seminar, there may be a lot of people say, well, right now I'm just getting by. And what I would tell you is, if you're just getting by, eventually life is just going to get by you. The years are going to add up. And next thing you know, you're going to look back at your life and you're going to say, what have I done with my life? And those are one of the things that hurt so many people the most, is that they just want to get by. And at some point in time, just getting by is not going to be enough. Okay. The next chapter we talk about is the perpetual time syndrome. What is perpetual time syndrome? It's basically a syndrome where you believe that you have an unlimited time to accomplish all your dreams and goals in life. You believe in an unlimited time to accomplish your dreams and your goals and your aspirations. And this is ludicrous. It's crazy. You don't have an unlimited time. You have a time limit. Who knows that time? We don't know exactly when we're going to check out of this thing called life. So you don't have an unlimited time. So you have to start making the right decisions and taking appropriate actions to be able to fall in place. And I call this the greatest trap in human existence, is to believe that you have an unlimited time to accomplish everything it is that you set out in life. Everyone as it said, has food on their plate when they leave. But how much food and what types of food are you going to have on yours? And that's what we talk about in the perpetual time syndrome. The sum of all, becoming who you should be despite who you are today is not complicated. Okay, it's about being able to properly use and calibrate the tools you already have within. Okay, knowledge is not power. This is one of the greatest myths of all time. Applied knowledge is true power. Now, there may be someone out there that doesn't quite understand what that means. What that means is that if you have knowledge, but you don't apply it, it's no good to you than the person that doesn't have it. How is it doing you any good if you're not using it? So you're just as useless as the person that doesn't have it. You're on the same common ground with them. You have to take what you know and grow. That is the only way to be successful. So if you want to purchase a copy of our book, you can go directly to our website at www.thinkingforwardinc.com and click the book icon and it will take you straight there. And we have the single purchase pack. We're giving 10% off for all those people that look at this webinar, look at this video. We're giving you 10% off today, and that brings it down to $19.99. But for those that not only want to impact their life but want to impact the lives of others, we suggest you get in the holiday gift pack, which consists of 3 books, 1 for yourself and 2 that you can put under the Christmas tree or for the New Year's resolution to help someone to get their life together. And instead of that being $65.99, giving 10% off, and it brings it down to $59.99. You need to get this. You need to get this not only for yourself, but for others to share the information. We're not trying to make a fortune off of this. We're just trying to get information to people to enlighten them. So if you go to our website and purchase it, you're going to get a much better deal than you would if you were to go to Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or any of those other sites. Okay. Next thing, we have a bonus announcement. Bonus announcements is please join our radio community. Here at Think Forward Inc., we have a radio community. You can stream us live at Blog Talk Radio /Thinking Forward Inc. or call in at 347-637-3361 every Wednesday, 8 o'clock to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our previous show topics, one of our highest demand shows are you the armor bearer of your purpose? Are you a no-limit person? We have previous guests like Dr. Angelo Reynolds and Mr. Noble LaVere Woods III. So we've had a lot of interesting guests and topics that would truly enlighten your life and your mindset. We also want to give the special announcement to let you know about Thinking Forward University. And this is my take on this. There's a lot of gurus and a lot of business mind coaches and people that, have a lot of different things that they offer to the personal development world. And when I looked at it, I saw a lot of stuff that, that set well with me and some things that kind of disturbed me a little bit. So, and this is me being transparent with you. I believe that everyone deserves a chance or an opportunity to have change in their life. I believe that everyone is deserving of that. But there's people out there that believe that it has to come with a price, and understand that, knowledge is a new currency, and, someone putting something together to give to you, put before you, it should cost you something. But I just don't believe personally that getting that information should be the difference between you paying your mortgage or your rent, or it shouldn't be the difference between you paying your light bill in order to get life-changing information. I believe that it should be affordable and be able to fit in your budget if you want to change, and be able to do it on your own terms and your own time. So January 7, 2015, we are launching Thinking Forward University, which is very affordable. Study at your own pace. The courses that we're going to be offering, and understand that we're going to be adding more courses to this, is the Business Mastermind Intensive Coaching, which is an actual coaching package where you get up to 2 hours of live coaching, and it's going to be no more than 20 people online. We're going to have a moderator for that to allow your questions about business, about life, about so many different subjects. Okay. The next class we're going to have is the Leadership Mindset Development class. Then we're going to talk about the Ignite Your Business in 90 Days. And one of the high demand courses is how to properly network your how to properly network and get new clients. So many people go about the wrong way in networking. They go to these functions and events and just passes the business cards, but really doesn't have a clear way of really keeping in touch and following up with those people. And that's what that course is going to offer. Thank you for tuning in this webinar. This is the Motivational King, Brandon Draper, signing out. Thank you so much.